Well, the SAPS say they're on high alert for any problems on voting day tomorrow and on the days afterwards. We've already seen just a few isolated cases of issues. As you know, I think there's still strong memories of what happened in 2021 that followed the arrest of former President Jacob Zuma. He's now leading the MK party. Godfrey Mulaudzi is the public violence monitor. He's at the Institute for Security Studies in Tshwane. Godfrey, good afternoon to you and thank you for your time. So we haven't really had huge violence after our election since the period after 1994 at least. What for you are the danger points if you look at elections in other countries, for example? Is it the period while people are voting, or is it when the results are announced, or is it after that?
Good afternoon. It's the combination of both, and from the period leading to to the elections and the election day themselves, and few days after the elections, because I think the thing is, Stephen, the thing about election is that its outcome must be accepted, and the integrity of the outcome of the elections, it happens in a broader political landscape where within all contexts within which the election takes place. That includes the build-up. So there's a number of things that we could look at. And elections, of course, each election has its own or takes place within its own context. As you are aware yourself, that these kind of elections that are taking place this year, many people have called them very contentious elections. And contentious because they are characterized by a number of things. One, the legal challenges. And I was just listening to the interview that you played. Characterized by electoral reform, and you have seen this hallmark in the introductions of the independent candidates. But what is encouraging is that all these have been resolved peacefully through the court flow, and I think it's very much encouraging. Okay, of course, with few incidences of political intolerances here and there, but these are not isolated because these take place all the time in every elections, be it by-elections, municipal elections, general elections. You would find that tensions now and then they get to be heated up, and people, conflict or confront each other.
I mean, I think in a way one of the issues we're going to see after this probably is intense negotiations around coalitions. I mean, probably in two provinces at least. Now, could that lead, just those negotiations, questions around what will happen, that uncertainty, people maybe trying to strengthen their position? Could that lead to a little bit of trouble, maybe, a little bit of tension?
A coalition, I don't think, would lead to tensions. I mean, I think South Africans are already familiar with the politics of coalitions in the space of local government, whether good or bad, but I think South African citizens are familiar with that. So I don't think that there will be much tension with that. Look, I think that what we see now, we have been looking at it in four ways in terms of the threats that are taking place now in these current elections. That the issue of safety risks, number one, which is mostly directed to both voters and IEC, right? This normally results in the suppression of free expression and also limiting the democratic participation. And of course, this eventually may lead to a law of terror. And these are safety risks. I think that's what we see currently taking place. And if you look at the security aspect of it, and we see that because this potentially may disrupt the smooth operations of elections. We have already seen few instances in the past few days, or just yesterday or day before, over the weekend as well. But protests, one of those things that could, have implications on security risks. But this kind of protest, Stephen, I mean, elections being elections themselves, which normally politicians, leadership, focus mostly communities. They go to communities, try to attend community issues. People normally at the end when they protest around this period. And let's also understand that South Africa is a democratic, constitutional country. People have got rights to protest. And so these more often than not, normally if we look in the past trend, there's nothing to do with the elections. And it's not to an extent that it can disrupt or damage the integrity of the electoral process.
How important is it for there to be a tough response, or let me put it a different way, actually? How important is it for there to be the correct response from police or authorities if there is an outbreak of violence in one area? What I'm trying to get to is, if there's a small outbreak of violence and people react to it quickly, does that stop violence spreading? And if you fail to stop that small outbreak of violence, does it make it more likely that violence almost looks like it can spread sometimes?
Yeah, look, I mean, if the ground is fertile for that, that you may see that happening, because where we are at the moment, the high level of political polarization now created by threats of certain parties. So that in itself may just, it's a fertile ground for confrontation or for, if lack of better words, political conflict. But I mean, the response, obviously, as it is happening at the moment, you probably have seen the net joint statement, is to pick up those who are, responsible, held those who are responsible accountable. We have seen people being arrested for contravening the Electoral Act at the moment, which is good. And I think this also can help to discourage certain elements that seeks to damage the integrity of this electoral process. And because what we have seen, I think it's also that you would see that once you attack the integrity of the IEC, of the electoral body, you create an atmosphere of fear and intimidation, and this may discourage people because they jeopardize their safety, and also the IEC staff, and as well as the candidates themselves. So if we address that, we hold people accountable who are able to address, but also above all is to also mobilize people to be on the side of the rule of law. And I think this is what all of us we need to be doing. How best can we support the rule of law? And the IEC has been a very reputable organization, and I think that's where all our energies needs to be. But I must also indicate, Stephen, that there is a colleague of mine at the office who's dealing with the emerging threats, particularly looking at the cyber security of electoral process, but also the use of social media. We're going to the elections now with about 27 million people who are certified or are the certified voters roll. 26 million of these people are estimated to be using social media, and these people are exposed to the vulnerability of the harm that is used by the social media risk, this emerging threat.
Godfrey Mulaudzi, thank you, from the Institute for Security Studies in Tshwane. I do appreciate the time.